Yo, what's up guys, it is Offensive Seahawks fan back with another video. Today I'm going to rank every team by how fun I think they are to watch. We got 5 tiers. At the top we got electrifying. Second we have very fun. Middle we have watchable. Fourth we have background noise. And fifth we have sleepy time, which means they're the bottom of the barrel and I'd rather take a nap. To start we have the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, they were pretty watchable this year compared to the last decade when they were actually contending. This year was a very down year for them, and every Packer fan would say that. But they were indeed watchable in an aspect. Moving on to the Vikings, they were very fun to watch, not quite electrifying, but I'd give them very fun when their offense is functioning, because their defense is no good. It's just all up to their offense. If they can function, they're a very fun team to watch. Moving on to Dallas. Oh, I'm not the biggest fan of Dallas, just like probably everyone in America. They are a fun team to watch, though. Very fun team to watch. Especially their defense. But, I mean, I never want them to succeed, so when they're losing, it's even better when, yeah, don't know what I'm saying. Moving on to the Saints. It's between watchable and background noise for me. They're like hit or miss every week, but they were watchable this year. They haven't been good since Drew Brees left, though, and that's kind of, yeah. Hopefully Derek Carr can turn that ship around. Moving on to the Niners. Now I'm supposed to hate them because they're a division rival, but they're an electrifying team to watch. Sorry, but if I'm watching a Niners game, no matter who they're playing, unless they're playing the Seahawks, then it's always a fun time unless their offense gets shut down, which is rare. And their defense always does their job. They have the best defense in the league. What else can I say? Moving on to the Commanders. They were in between very fun and watchable. I'll give them watchable because I didn't really watch a lot of Commanders football this year. But, I mean, they almost made the playoffs. Actually, the only game I did watch of the Commanders was against the Giants on prime time, where they lost by 3. That was a decent game to watch. Moving on to Denver, I'm going to bed. No, they sucked this year. Moving on to the Texans, I'm also going to bed. They suck this year. Both those teams. What are you watching if you're willingly watching those teams? Constant 3 and outs. Barely any scoring. I don't want to watch that. Moving on to the Colts. They are background noise. Now, the background noise tier means I would have them on, but I would not pay attention. I'd look up at the TV every now and then if, the announcers are going a tad bit crazy, and then just back to whatever I was doing. Moving on to Jacksonville. They were so fun to watch. Borderline electrifying. I'm so happy that that team actually does good when their head coach doesn't hate them all. It's mind-blowing, right? Moving on to the Browns. I don't know if I really watched the Browns game besides their Thursday night game against Pittsburgh. It's between watchable and background noise. Well, Nick Chubb makes them very watchable, so I'd give them watchable. I didn't really pay attention to the Browns at all this year. Moving on to the Cardinals, they are background noise. They don't do that much that would make me excited to turn the Cardinals game on. Like, no, I don't like watching Kyler Murray's ball security. I think it's stupid. He looks like he's trying to fumble the way he holds the ball, and he runs like a toddler. Sure, D-Hop makes that team watchable, but not enough for me, because we expect it from D-Hop. Moving on to the Raiders. They were pretty watchable for me this year because of their offense. They have, especially Josh Jacobs and Devontae, because those were like the only two players on their offense that really cared this year. Also, like a little bit of Derek Carr. Moving on to the Ravens. They're watchable when Lamar plays. When Lamar doesn't play, I'd rather take a nap. Lamar makes that team. And when he don't play, that team don't function. Moving on to the Bucks. I mean, it's always fun watching Tom Brady. At least I think it is. But from this year, that team did not function properly. I'd give it background noise. I wish they would get rid of Todd Bowles. He is going to ruin that team, even though it's already set up for failure because Brady's gone, Mike Evans is getting older, everyone's just getting older. No one's getting any younger. Moving on to the Chargers, they were fun to watch this year. It would have been electrifying if that no one, like all the people they got in the offseason didn't get injured. And all their already good players didn't get injured, but you can't really prevent injuries. So, well, I mean, if you make the argument with a certain person, you probably could, but it's impossible. Moving on to the Eagles, electrifying. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl, so why wouldn't you want to watch them unless you're a NFC East fan or you just hate the Eagles? Oh, I've always thought they were a pretty electrifying team since they got Jalen Hurts, and he's going to be a top 5 quarterback for a long time. Moving on to the Patriots, they are the most boring team I probably ever watched since Tom Brady left. They're like a plain vanilla ice cream cone. Sorry to anyone that likes that flavor is like as their favorite, but they're just a plain vanilla ice cream cone. It's boring. There's no features. There's nothing. Moving on to the Rams. Background noise. They sucked this year. Yes, injuries was a factor, but even before their injuries, they weren't playing like a Super Bowl champion team. Moving on to the Dolphins. Borderline electrifying, but in the games where Tua's brain turned into squashed carrots, no. They are very fun to watch, though, and it's going to be exciting to see how Jalen Ramsey does there. But if Tua's brain cannot be squished around this year and the team doctors actually don't want him to die, then they would be electrifying. Moving on to the Bills, they're always going to be electrifying for me because I love Josh Allen, I love Stephon Diggs, and that's really my only reason. And they're just a really fun team to watch until it comes to the playoffs because they always suck in the playoffs. Moving on to the Giants, they were watchable. I didn't really watch much Giants games this year. I maybe watched 2. And they would be better watching if, Daniel Jones actually had receivers, which Darren Waller is going to be a huge pickup for them. Or is a huge pickup for them. I don't know. I can't talk. Keep building that offensive line. It's going to help Saquon even more. It's going to help Daniel Jones have time. Their defense it's a rising up defense. But just get Daniel some weapons. Moving on to the Bengals. What is there not to love about watching the Bengals? They have 3 receiver 1s on their depth chart that could be receiver 1 on any other team. Every time you turn the Bengals game on, you're like in the middle of a 50-yard touchdown bomb from Joe Burrow. I'd love watching that any day. Moving on to the Jets. No, background noise. Get Zach Wilson out. He is the worst quarterback I've seen ever. Moving on to the Steelers. It's watchable background noise. It's sleepy time for me. I would give them background noise. They haven't been fun to watch since the Killer Bee era. But we'll see how Pickett does in year 2. Moving on to the Falcons. I'm taking a nap. They don't do anything that's like exciting to watch. I wouldn't even have them on for background noise. If I saw that was the only game I could watch in the morning, I'm going right back to bed till like 1 or whenever the game ends. Moving on to the Panthers. They are background noise for me. I mean, yeah, I'd give them background noise. They occasionally have games where they go off, like against the Lions and the game against the Falcons when P.J. Walker had the Hail Mary to DJ Moore. Their first game against Tampa where they blew them out. I'm probably missing a few more, but I don't care enough. Moving on to the Chiefs. I mean, besides the announcers always meat riding Mahomes, they're electrifying to watch. I mean, how can you not like watching the Chiefs unless you're a AFC West fan or a Bills fan or just a clear hater? I mean, a team that literally doesn't care if they do ring around the rosy before a play. That has my vote for being electrifying. Detroit. Call me crazy, I think they're an electrifying team to watch. Dan Campbell quite literally doesn't care if it's fourth down or anything. That man has the biggest heart of a lion ever. And I freaking love it, dude. It's going to be fun for years to come. Moving on to the Seahawks. If you don't think your own team's electrifying to watch unless you're like a Texans fan or a Colts fan or any of that, then you're not really a fan of them. Titans, they are watchable. Unless you don't like watching Derrick Henry get 30 carries a game because that's the only thing they do. They rely on Derrick Henry for success. And when he can't do it, that team sucks. Moving on to the Bears, the final team. This year they were background noise for me, but next year it's going to be different for next year. I think they're going to be how the Jags were this year because they spent so much in free agency, just like Jacksonville did last year. Everyone's probably thinking they overpaid for the people they got, just like people think Jacksonville did. And watch, they honestly could make the playoffs next year if they play their cards right. They gave Justin Fields an offensive line. They gave him a lot of defense. It's going to be something. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Go Hawks!